Have you always wanted to start your own business? Do you have an innovative idea or an invention, but just don't know how to turn it into a company? Are you already in business and need some help growing? The BRF's Entrepreneurial Accelerator Program can help. At EAP, we work alongside you, helping you with things like financial modeling, funding strategy, pitch preparation, and marketing strategy. So what are you waiting for? Go to eapla.com today and set up a time to talk with our team. Let EAP help you launch or grow your business in North Louisiana today.
Welcome to On the Cusp. We're back today. I got my co-host Dave Smith back today. And today we have two guys that really have done some amazing things. And I like guys that do stuff where everybody else is like, is that really gonna work? And you just do it and then it just blows up. This is Beau and Peanut from BeauxJax.
What's up, guys?
And man, let's talk about what you've really done. I mean, the East Bank District is a cool idea, but man, without y'all, I mean, y'all have really jumped in there and just changed the game of Bossier, especially that part of Bossier.
Man, I think we moved into a new district, perfect timing. We had started on a food truck and had an opportunity to open a cafeteria style thing for a year, and then an opportunity fell in our lap to move into Old Bossier. They had just turned it into an open container district, and I think we thought, hey, in 10 years this might be something.
Yeah.
And man, we moved in, opened the doors, and just were flooded with people.
Like a game changer immediately.
Yeah.
I remember coming and meeting with y'all when I was about to do Crafthouse, and y'all were out on Cross Lake, and we were all in the same boat. We were all scraping pennies, trying to, hey, how are we gonna do this?
Well, we had a 20-seat bistro at the time.
And
so we parked our food truck behind the building. Yeah.
I had somebody tell me when I started my company, I don't know what you're gonna do, but I know you're gonna do something, and I always felt like that was pretty accurate. And that's how I felt leaving y'all that day, was like, those guys are going to do something huge. It's right there, and then I never would have thought it would be in Bossier, but then it just happened.
Man, it's like I said, I think more than anything, it was timing.
Yeah. Some would call it dumb luck too. I think you gotta work hard, but be in the right spot at the right time to make the right things happen. Yeah. If that's not too wordy,
and you gotta have that.
We've had a lot of conversations about opportunity kind of is out there for everybody.
Yeah.
A lot of people overanalyze it. They talk themselves out of it. But when you're idiots, you don't do too much thinking about it. You just have a gut feeling.
That's when you make your best decisions. I would not go back and do my stuff.
Is that the way you got to the stage and the sound system you got out there? Talk a little bit about that.
COVID is the reason that we have a stage out there. So, the world shut down. We didn't know what we were going to do, just like everybody else.
We just knew we had a lot of outdoor space.
Yeah.
And when everybody said, hey, go eat outdoors, we were like, let's go get some picnic tables.
Yeah, so we're in an open container district. So our first call at the time was to Pam Glorioso. She was the CAO in Bossier. We called her, we said, hey, when they said we could eat outside, how much of this outdoor space can we use? And she said, all of it. So it's unlimited square footage. So we can space people out 8 feet where everybody else is doing it 6 feet. So we went to Lowe's, man. We bought every picnic table from every Lowe's.
It was in Shreveport, Bossier.
Longview, Ruston. All the ones we get, and we lined them down the bike lane. We had a little alley back behind the restaurants and lined them up down there. And so everybody was coming out. We were the only place with any traffic. And then
it was still able to sell food. We were able to work enough employees. We worked all the way through it, doing some other stuff for the hospitals and whatnot. We did some great things there too, but at the same time, it kind of opened up our eyes to be like, oh man, people love eating outdoors.
Well,
yeah.
And then
everybody lost their staff. We were able to keep our staff. Then we got lucky. The National Guard came back in and said, hey, we got to feed all these people doing the testing. We got this massive contract to feed them lunch and dinner. And we had to take it all over the place. but we had something to do. We weren't just sitting there on our hands.
So what led you to the stage and that sound system? Because a lot of people don't know about your sound system.
It started with the TV. We got that little contract, and everyone's like, man, we love it out here because we got something to do, but man, we'd love if we could watch football. So we were like, well, how could we do that? We found a $100,000 LED wall that we mounted on the back of BeauxJax, and we started playing football. And they were like, oh, well, if we can watch football, can we get live music? And we were like, well, so we took 2 drum risers and we pushed them together and we booked a band. Then the next week we had a 10 by 20 tent on top of it. The next week we had put some Christmas tree lights on it.
That's where it all started.
That's how it started. Then we started getting busy. I mean, it was with just that little stage. We had Jason Boland, we had Steelwoods. I mean, these are national acts. But they were in the same boat as everybody else. They didn't have anywhere to play.
Right. They needed a venue.
Yeah, so our little drum risers were the place to play. And then it brought more people. So we bought a little house behind us, tore it down, and fenced it in.
Put a restroom bank.
What are we going to do with this other space? And we're like, let's build a stage. And we know nothing about the music business.
Yeah.
And we just had the right people jump on our team, I guess. David Daniels helped us in the beginning. And then we had John Vance. He's our sound and lighting engineer. Been doing this 35 years.
Yeah.
And Jackie Brock jumped on and started helping us with some booking.
That's the cool thing about Shreveport Bossier is like there's a lot of people and everybody's pretty willing to help each other.
Yeah.
Like I work with Jack, nobody. Jackie could see me as competition, I could see Jackie as competition, or we could see each other as being able to help each other. And I think we were lucky to be in a place like that.
Dude, if you want to know what makes our block successful down there, it's that. Like it started, so we opened BeauxJax. 6 months later, Doug Rogers opened BeauxJax. Now, we could have been like, oh, that's our competition. Instead, we got to be really good friends.
Yeah.
And when the next space came available, it was like, man, we'll open this together. So we opened Frozen Pirogue together. And then we built this little catchphrase. I think Doug might have come up with it. It was East Bank Mafia.
Yeah.
And so now we run our entire music calendar, and we're working on a merchants association for the entire East Bank, where everyone will have all of their stuff linked in on one website.
Oh, cool.
So when you come in from out of town, you go to one place, and there's all these things to do. You'll have hotel sponsors, ways to book Airbnbs down there. You'll have a music calendar from all the restaurants, links to all the restaurants. So from an outsider and new money coming into the area, we feel like that's a good way to create
that's
some
really
synergy.
a team effort and collaboration.
Yeah.
So y'all were a really hot food truck. I mean, I remember you see this happen. You see these food trucks, you see these different things. Drip's doing a good job with it right now, transitioning that into a standalone business. I mean, that's really key. You see so many of these get hot and then kind of go away. What would you tell a guy that's kind of on to something?
Man, mine is there's always going to be burnout. And I feel like, once you kind of hit the wall, it's do you want to keep going past that? Because, after a few years, let's just say 3 years of running a food truck 7 days a week, it's tiring, man. You're talking about, you're doing the dishes every time you come home and you think you're going to take your kids out somewhere, and the next thing you know, you're prepping food because you sold out of food. There's no downtime, and so you're constantly doing that. And food truck's probably the hardest. People think, oh man, we're going to sell some food and it's going to be fun. Man, it is fun, but it's a ton of work.
You don't make any money.
Yeah, you don't.
Like number one, you don't make money.
Not on the food truck. You have to.
I would say if you don't have some restaurant experience, you can't control food cost. You don't understand those things, don't do it. It's real easy to lose money.
Yeah, do it for fun if you really enjoy cooking that much and you want to go to the Blanchard Festival and do something.
Like competition barbecue.
Do that.
But as a way to get to
the point,
a restaurant. If you know that's cool.
So I think if you go into it with the idea of
testing this concept,
this is a good way for me to work some kinks out before I go start a brick and mortar. and hey, this is a good way to start building a brand. So when we opened BeauxJax in the East Bank, and we already had like 12,000 followers.
Right.
Now, it took 3.5, 4 years of making zero money and just working. I mean, we were running our truck 24 hours a day.
Yeah, I mean, y'all were everywhere.
It was all the time.
Constantly reinvesting though.
Yeah.
And you're booking caterings. You might go set up at a place and it rains on you all day long, but you book one catering off of that because somebody says, hey, I've got a daughter that's getting married in 2 months. You guys come out and do the food for it. Next thing you know, it made that little setup in the rain well worth it.
Yeah.
So it's find some lucky breaks like that too.
Yeah, you got to find some multiple revenue streams,
Right.
even there.
I think that's a key in anything in our area.
Yeah.
Like if I just did one thing,
I'd say
I wouldn't be able to live the way I live.
Yep.
That's
like
you got to
the entrepreneurial business, right?
Right.
You gotta
y'all can pivot.
have your hands.
And they have.
and
they have very successfully.
I will tell you, learning how to pivot on the food truck is the only reason I think we were able to pivot through COVID. Like I think we were already kind of living in that.
The food truck's like me doing events. It's fires constantly.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
But Beau, you were talking about when we first came in. Did you take investment? When you got the idea and you needed the capital to get this going? How did you get it? How'd you do it?
Well, we went to every bank with no credit and like no assets, nothing to collateralize.
It was your classic story of asking for way too much money off of a little game plan.
Yeah, we had our little business plan kind of drawn out in crayon.
Of course.
And we went to all the banks. We said, hey, we need to borrow $2 million. We're gonna open up in the building that used to be Max's Pawn Shop. All right. Everybody laughed us out of the bank. We went into the last bank, and at this point we already knew the answer was no. And so me and Peanut pulled up to Progressive Bank, and we walked in to Shane Bly's office with a case of beer. He set the case of beer down on the on his desk.
Yeah.
And Shane's like, look, I can't give you $2 million. He's like, but I'm gonna give you something. Like I'm gonna give you enough money for a crawfish trailer. I'm gonna give you enough money for a van. Y'all get this thing paid off and come back to us. So we started building some financials there.
And some business credit. So instead of going the route of taking some money from an investor, we kind of we took the bank, but it wasn't like a huge.
Well, we were kicked up. Sometimes you just got to make noise. If you don't have if you don't have money and all you have is an idea, man, you got to be so loud and so forward thinking with that idea. I think us talking about the Max's Pawn Shop building had made enough noise that we ended up meeting Rick Avery, who he owned BeauxJax, the building that's in 501 Barksdale. He was remodeling it. It was his first contract. I think he had somebody else going in there.
It fell through,
It kind of fell through, and because we had been making noise, we had an opportunity to move in there. The deal we made with him was he's going to do the build out. We need to do the kitchen build out. Well, the little bit of financials that we had built through that crawfish trailer, we were able to finance enough to do a kitchen build out. Rick did the rest of it. We started renting it from him. I think Rick ran into a few issues. The renting turned into owner financing, and we didn't have an early out on the owner financing. So then we turned around and we went back to the bank and said, hey, we've been paying on this for a little bit. So we basically were paying our own down payment.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, we refinanced it through the bank, and the building was ours. And it appraised for twice what we spent for it. And then, boom, all of a sudden you have some equity.
Bankers really don't think like entrepreneurs think.
But they got to get creative.
Yeah, but they got some great advice from a banker.
I mean, that's a great.
Yeah.
it was. And then I think to your point is we shopped it out. This is when we were broke. Didn't have no money, and you're just like, hey, your business plan says we'll allow you to come in for a certain percent and we'll kind of sell you that. Well, lucky on our part, we got the ball was rolling so fast and we just never took anybody's money. So now here we are 5 years later and we don't have a whole team of we don't have a whole team of investors that you end up having to go work every single day to pay off, to pay the investors.
Yeah.
In essence, he and I are the investors just by us taking in, never taking a salary.
But you're a great story. You can do it.
Yeah.
You can do it with $0.
You can do it with $0.
That's a big misconception.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
a lot of people, especially very wealthy people at times, will say, oh, yeah, but you don't have any money. That is not true. I built my business and everything with no dollars.
Yep.
You can, it takes a lot of hard work, and I'm sure you have to work harder.
So we have people come to us now asking, hey, will you invest in this? And I had this conversation with my wife the other day. Like, I'm really glad that people didn't step in and do that for us, because I think of all the things we learned and the mistakes we made on a small scale. Because if we wouldn't have learned those things and where we are now, you make those mistakes on a big scale and you lose it all. And so sometimes investors just want to see that, one, you're willing to go through all the process. You've got the grit to get through all that.
Because business is a bunch of fires.
It is. That's all it is.
That's really anybody that's been, and especially the restaurant business. I grew up in the restaurant business. I love the restaurant business. If you want to become a good entrepreneur, go spend some years in the restaurant business, because it will teach you how to deal with stuff that you do not expect to happen.
You didn't even know
every day.
So what's next? You guys are the East Bank is growing. What are you guys going to do next?
We get that question a lot, and mine is, I'm to that point where I would kind of like to let my money maybe make some money, so I don't have to go out there and work so hard for it. Maybe find some little things to invest in. If something comes along, I just don't know if I have the energy to go do like another full concept. So like if somebody says, "Hey, we want you to do this," I'm just using Mexican food for an example.
Yeah.
If somebody says, "Man, I really want you to do this. Can you come help me open this Mexican place?" Man, we know how hard it is to get one going off the ground, and how hard it is to employ. Now we have 115 employees, and able to keep those 115.
We found some things that our business will continue to do. So like we've developed some product along the ways. Like we have a boil and bag gluten-free gumbo. We developed a boil and bag red beans etouffee. All of that product has been picked up by Cisco set up for national distribution. And we're working on doing some stuff with Louisiana Crawfish Company, so it gets FedEx to your door if you want it. Now, locally, we want you to come to our restaurant, but outside of here, we don't want a franchise because we don't have the energy in the tank. But I think that's a good passive way.
It's the
to
Amazon
continue
theory.
Growing our brand.
People are sitting at their house or they're on their phone. They're like, "Man, I'm hungry for some gumbo. Let me just order some gumbo to be here tomorrow."
I love that.
And so we're kind of in that.
You guys are constantly evolving.
There's real estate conversations that we're having, but they're just ideas. But typically, what we say is, once we've written it on a napkin, it's going to happen. So like we'll sit in the back of BeauxJax and like we'll be just brainstorming ideas, and then Brian, our friend, our GM, part owner, he'll come up and throw a napkin in front of us if he thinks it's a good idea, because he knows if we write it on a napkin, we're gonna do it.
I love that.
The other thing I have to ask before we go, I go to y'all's place in BeauxJax now, and I don't know a person. I don't know where these people. I know y'all, and I know a couple. Maybe I know a person, but it's a different crowd. Yeah. It's a different crowd from the food truck days. It's a different crowd than I see coming out and spending money. So that's very important to me, because you're not only.
So I think there's an untapped market in Bossier. There's a lot of.
Who are these people? Who are your
There's customers? A lot of wealth that I think has moved to North Bossier, And I think if you look where we started with the food truck, and this is entrepreneur-wise, when I said you go out and you build a brand, man, we took our food truck and we put it in the front of every homeowner association in Shreveport, Bossier. But we started in Tiburon, and then that turned into Stonebridge, which turned into Legacy, and that became our base. And so when we opened the restaurant, that's who flooded in the restaurant in the beginning, and they kind of established themselves as, hey, this is our spot.
Yeah.
We didn't realize we were doing that when we set the food truck up there, but it's probably the most valuable thing that we got from the food truck.
Dude, that's awesome.
That is
I like that your crowd is younger too than I see in most places, at least that I go to. And I think that's important, having a cool place for young people to hang out.
You'd be, if you get down there on like a Friday, Saturday night, it's all ages. I mean, because we have kids out there throwing washers, throwing bags. I'm talking about grade school kids, all the way up to the people that are in their 60s that are out there, because we have a AC/DC cover band.
I've been there.
I was saying, like,
and they just,
so there's a section
it's
in
a
the
great,
back.
It's a great mix.
Yeah.
It's a great mix.
The first concert we did out there, my dad pulled a camping chair out. He got it out of his truck. You know, he sat there like, man, I own the place. So he's got his little fancy camping chair. And then the next week there were 3. And then the next week there were 10. And now there's a whole section of camping chairs at these concerts. If you're looking at the stage over to the left, it's you see a lot of the like 55 to 70-year-olds. They're over here chilling in their camping chair, and then all the kids are in the front. Like,
And then
Guys, hey,
older music.
this has been great.
Yeah.
I appreciate y'all coming on the show.
sure.
Best of luck. It's exciting, really, to see you guys constantly growing.
Yeah.
And looking for opportunities. And, you know, I hope everybody orders Peanut.
There you go.
You know, the gumbo right there.
Man.
You know, and it's coming right from the heart of Bossier City.
Right.
Okay?
Well, and I'm going to say this. I didn't know as much about what y'all had going on here, but like we talk about it all the time. Like we've helped some other people get started. Our dream was like, man, maybe one day we can start some type of entrepreneurial acceleration program. And then I walk in today and I see it, man. It's like what y'all have done over here is really cool. Like I think we want to be a part of that if we can.
You can,
Yeah,
absolutely.
sure.
We consider you guys part of the team.
Yeah,
It takes a community, and what we really want to do is we want people to understand, look, if you get the right advice and you're working with the right people, you can start a business and you can be successful in Shreveport, Bossier. There are
you
people like you doing it every day.
Yep. You just don't quit.
That's right.
100%. No matter how many people tell you your idea is dumb, like it, for a very long time, the only 2 people that believed in BeauxJax were me and Peanut. Like there were.
Yeah. I would say that.
I have that conversation with my wife. She's like, "Hey,
Your wife can be your toughest critic sometimes.
I didn't think this was going to do anything."
Well, guys, thanks for coming.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate y'all.
Best of luck.
Cool.
All right.